As you're playing Elite Dangerous, you want this. But doing this for days and months is soul-crushing. Well, welcome to Elite Dangerous. However, I got something better. You'll be going from this to this in some time rather than long time. Welcome to Elite's ultimate credit guide for all your needs of credits. Credits. You need them, you want them. Ships, modules, weapons, and space cookies. Space crack cocaine, or buying back your firstborn from Space Mafia. All that can be obtained in Elite Dangerous with credits, the main game's currency. However, Elite is also a live service game. So yes, the fucky wucky is here to ruin the fun. The grind is annoying and sadly not optional. So like a methed out Easter bunny with rabies, I come bearing rotten gifts. The best way to ruin your gameplay, according to senile forum dads. Yeah, but for everyone else, the best credit farms the game has, so that you can get the artificial bullshit we call the grind out of the way faster. And actually go out there and experience the whole game, without the need to focus on space money, for any more than it's necessary. Though, before we proceed, warnings. Number 1, the grind is not a choice. Yes, I see you there writing comments, John, Bobbington. See, Elite is a game built not on skill-based gameplay, but on repetitive gameplay. So, remember kids, of any age, just because you like sniffing glue or eating dog turds does not make for good nutrition. Same goes with the grind. You can do all sorts of activities while you're collecting money, but the reality is, you'll do a lot of them just to get the next ship or an upgrade for it or anything else really, whether you like what you're doing or not. So don't let the Care Bears fool you. Oh, and if actually you want to know more about this topic, I made a whole mini essay about it. Number 2. For this one I included no event-based or unreliable farms, no community goals or no random developers space meth train events or something like that. Just plain old predictable and reliable credit farms that we have, and probably will always have.
You can make 200 million an hour trading your mom's used dildos or something.
Oh, well that's cool. How did you test and got these numbers? Oh, let me guess. Did you pull it out of your ass?
I pulled it out of my ass.
Fuck you! So yeah, for this I actually tested every single one of these farms and collected data for it, making sure that it is a full loop and repeatable. Still, even with this data, I would say you should treat it more as an indicator more than anything else.
So, if Bobbington on the forums is claiming some stupid number,
Tell him to show his testing or go fuck! Number 4, this is a farming guide, not a how to play a game. So some basic game knowledge is expected, but I'll try to explain as much as I can for what you are doing essentially and why you are doing it. Number 5, here's what to avoid. First of all, missions. All the missions in Elite Dangerous are bad. Like most TikTok e-girl streams, it's basically a jailbait. Most missions often don't spawn in quantity that allows you to stack them or complete them at once, nor do they pay well and waste mostly your time. Also, avoid subsurface mining. It's a special needs mining that can't get its life together. And as for piracy, both NPC and PvP one, it's exclusively reserved for fursuiting weirdos. You know, the role players. And finally, number 5, probably the most important warning. In the past, developers have always resorted to testicle torture. I mean, hammering the balls. I mean, nerfing only the best paying farms, without properly balancing the rest of the game. This is why nearly all the missions are garbage for money making. The good news though, Elite, well, let's be frank, is in its twilight years, and serious changes to economy haven't really happened for the last good 2 years. Either way, if something changes and some of the farms go out of date or get nerfed, do let me know. I'll try to keep a pinned comment with updates, so it's worth checking that out too. Alright then, let's rip out the butt plug from this rectum of fun!
Oh fuck me, this has to be the worst way to start a guide.
Anyways, right, so the first things first, this mega guide will have timestamps for each section, so feel free to skip around. Each section also will include not only the info about the farm itself, but also what you will need to do it. Also, all the useful links will be in the description too, along with the old guides with some in-depth explanation and some old jokes, like your mama. All the ship builds also will be listed down there, as well as the most recent testing streams that I did for just gathering the data. Oh, and how could I forget, the third-party tools will be down there too. Because of course, to play Elite Dangerous, you have to turn off the game and open a browser to find information and not suddenly combust. Oh, and almost all farms are available for Horizons and Legacy version of the game, so trust me, you really don't need the Odyssey. Save your money and, I don't know, instead maybe check out my Patreon and support my crippling addiction to Semkas, Kvass, and Eclairs. And last but not least, I aim this guide to mostly consist of farms that you can do alone. Now, of course, they will get more profitable if you have a gimp army at your beck and call, but mostly I intend this to be a solo joystick waggling. And so, we're ready. Bring a shit bucket, caffeine pills, and prepare for major carpal tunnel. We're going grinding! The tried and true jump, honk, scan, repeat. Like smashing your face against a brick wall, Road to Riches is basically the same thing except for players whose arms seem to be growing out of their asses, and thus can't seem to get good. But seriously, simply scanning planets and stars is easiest and often cathartic type of gameplay in Elite you can do. You don't need any particular ship, or parts for that matter. So, throw out your life support, you don't need it! Huh? Wait, what? The price to enter is literally none. Today, any ship can use the built-in fucking shit scanner, or FSS, and get some credits from the data. It also happens to be the easiest gameplay in the whole game, where you need only just a little bit of knowledge. And to make it even better, this is literally the fastest way to get started in Elite. Alright then, well, what do you need first? Well, of course, a ship. Any ship. Hey, you laugh, but it's perfectly correct. Next, it's recommended to get the best jump range out of the ship of your choice, meaning the biggest A-grade FSD, and of course all the other parts get the D. No, not the dick. If you're into that, that comes later when you and the ship are alone in the dark. No, it's the D-rated parts, which are the lightest and thus increase the jump range. But most important, I guess most optionally, a fuel scoop. Trust me, calling fuel rats on your first outing is not a memory you want to make. And finally, of course, a trusty third-party tool. So, how does this work? Well, basically like this. And no, I'm not kidding, that's just about it. Basically, what you do is using the third-party tool, plugging in your chosen starting point, the tool spits out a path of star systems with profitable celestial bodies. Yes, some celestial testicles are worth more than others. Now all that you need to do is just jump around and scan the profitable ones. Now over time, using the FSS, you'll notice that the planets you want to scan reside in a specific area in the spectrum. So... Oh, and once you had enough of the exciting exploration gameplay, just head back to any starport and hand in the data. Oh, and be warned, if you explode, you lost all the data.
Ah, but how do I check what systems I have scanned?
How about the fuck you? Alright then, so Road to Riches is basically like bread. It's tasty, it's plain, it's good, and it's very reliable, but not very nutritious. Over the years, Road to Riches have not changed almost at all, and has remained like some sort of a baseline constant for money making. 20 million an hour, no matter the ship or its build. This both is great and pretty sad. It's exceptionally great in early game, when in the first hour, as soon as you get that first paycheck, you can afford any mid-range ship and its modules to do far better farms, which is incredible compared to definitely say missions. But because it's unchanging no matter the ship you got, it quickly falls out of the favor. Oh, and here's a fun fact, to get elite rank in exploration, it only takes about 300 million credits worth of scans, meaning that with this you can get the elite rank and unlock Shinra to Desra, the system that offers pretty much every ship and module, which also is the fastest way to get elite rank overall. But remember, majority of single player games you can finish in the same time, so yeah, I was talking about the grind. Here you go. boy oh boy do I love live service games. Oh, God, please kill me. Like the age-old debate, tits or ass, for explorers it's probes or honks. A step above normal road to riches is adding more depthful planet surveying using the detailed surface scanner, but everyone calls it simply Probulator 9000. The module itself costs some credits and takes up more time to actually use, but in turn, for every planet you probe, like a proctologist in a rush hour, you get paid more. But is it really any better? Well, I tested it. And for prepping, well, you need the typical road to riches setup. So basically, any ship, upgrades and downgrades to maximize its jump range, fuel scoop, but it's kinda optional, and the third-party tools to list the profitable planets. But the addition here comes from the Probulator, the detailed surface scanner as well. And that's it! Now as for how to do it, well, unlike the regular honk scan jump, the extra step you're gonna have to take is traveling to the profitable planet and then using the Probulator, and then unleashing the probe to unsuspecting orifice of the space meatball.
Surface scan complete.
The key of this gameplay is to manage 90% scan or more in a specific amount of probes, otherwise you're gonna be losing some credits for the scan. Basically, to put it plainly, you can't just do this. Eventually, you'll find a pattern that works for you, so once the scan is done, just jump to the next system and repeat. Now, unlike normal honking and scanning, adding probing to the mix poses a few problems. Now, you first of all need to travel in Supercruise to the planet to examine its dirt holes. This takes time, in fact a lot of time. So if the planet is very far away and the price per scan is the same, which it is, you're gonna have to start limiting the distance at which you're gonna be going, otherwise risk losing money over time. I personally limit it around 10,000 light seconds. Anything beyond that is not worth it. So then, the more important question then comes is, how much can you expect doing all this at the best of times? Well, I suppose there's no way around it. The same. 20 million an hour. Yep, the same amount of money you can make in normal road to riches, you're gonna be making with the Probulator too. However, you'll be spending more time traveling and scanning less systems, and of course putting in quite a bit more effort. Plus, you're gonna have to buy the module, and out of that you get nothing really. Again, it's not bad, but if I had to recommend it, I'd say just stick with a normal road to riches. Oh, and yes, I know about the first time discovery bonus, and yes, it adds stuff to it, but it's mostly uncharted territory anyways. And thus, it's more luck-based and also limited, so it's not included in my data. Pew, 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 pew.
Now would you kindly turn on your ship and free up the fucking landing pad?
You are the man with no name, tracking down the ne'er-do-wells and bringing them to justice for cold, hard cash. You're Dog the Donut Muncher and poor people abuser. In Elite, one of my favorite ways to make money was, and still is, mass murdering. And of course, the best murder fuckfest happens when you copy American foreign diplomacy policy. And as it happens, there are a bunch of not-so-innocents constantly spawning in mining areas and nav beacons. So, you know what's happening next? Oh, we're gonna be brutalizing every single one of them. So this is Bobby. He robbed a granny.
Murderized!
This is Jimmy. He's a Catholic priest.
Murderized!
This is Todd. He makes bad video games.
Murderized!
And this is Horny Wolf Twilight Sparkle. It's a furry.
Murderized!
Now the problem, however, with this farm is the price to entry and skill to entry. Both of them are the highest of all of them, in fact. While the pay... well, I suppose we're gonna get to that. But first... So, where do we find these criminals? Well, resource extraction sites, navigation beacons, and pirate signal sources. The red sites go from low to normal to high and finally hazardous ones, each one increasing in ship difficulty and their bounties, while the system police is not present in the hazardous one at all. And the same thing goes with pirate signal sources, except for one thing. Every ship also has engineered modules, meaning that some may have phasing sequence. And now those lasers, like Trojan dildos, seep through any defenses, damaging hull underneath the shield regardless, which means that eventually, like a little bitch, you're gonna have to go back to the starport and fix your bitch-ass boo-boos. So for reliable and repeatable bounty hunting, Haz-Res are the best. While compromised nav beacons might work too, but I don't really trust their spawning mechanic. To find Haz-Res sites, you can look up several third-party tools, or, like me, maybe just go blindly to a populated system with a planet that has asteroid ring. My personal haunting ground usually is Fong Wang, because everyone likes that. Wang of Fong. Though seriously though, I just simply do it because it's the closest thing for Shinra to Desra. But to start crunching skulls and femurs like you're a desperate whale, you know the kind, you need a ship, and that's where our first big problem comes in. To get more money, you need to kill faster. To kill faster, you need the best ship. To get the best ship, you need lots of credits. To get lots of credits, you need to grind hard somewhere else. Yeah, you might see a problem here. By the time you get a good ship for money making with bounty hunting, you've already earned that money somewhere else. However, if like me, you just simply want to earn some decent pocket change and have the most fun out of all the farms, well, the ship you're gonna take will need to follow just 3 simple rules. Number 1, all you need are shields, and as much as possible. So completely ignore hull, the shields regenerate and they don't let damage through, so what's the point? Number 2, only use laser weapons. No ammo, no need to return to the station to rearm like a bitch. Number 3, for extra money, do not forget Kill Warrant Scanner, and always scan the miscreants before killing them. Down below I've listed a few PvE builds, but all of them pretty much follow these 3 simple rules, which also means that you do need to upgrade Power Distributor and the weapons and thrusters too, with engineering. For weapons specifically, you'll need either efficient, short range or overloaded upgrades. Everything else is kinda secondary. So then, you got your basic ship and you got to the Haz-Res site. Now, just start killing! The key to PvE bounty hunting is basically sustainability, and what's more infinite than shields and no ammo for lasers. And to make it extra spicy and a bit faster... Oh, that's the stuff. And that's pretty much it. Scan, ram, kill, repeat. And now for the most depressing part, the pay. See, combat demands the most risk, the most skill, the best ship, and all that effort nets you about 20 million an hour. Yup, the same pay you're gonna be getting by doing Road to Riches, the easiest and safest moneymaker in the whole game. The word devastated could pretty much only be amplified by the word anally in front of it, to describe how sadly dangerous its balance is. However, there is a way to improve this pay. Luckily, missions have come to the rescue of this line of work. So before heading out to kill the toddler fiddlers, pirate massacre missions supplement the income of bounty hunters everywhere. Well, as long as you're within the system killing those specified pirates of the specific faction. So, heading to a nearby station to look for these missions is probably a best idea before you go anywhere. They will net you additional pay per kill, which is where most or at least half of the money will come from. However, not all systems offer these missions, plus you need reputation for the really good paying ones. So have fun grinding. Alright, so you got the best ship, you got the best standing, and you got the best missions, and you kill really quickly. Well, what can you expect by exploding those generic neon-colored furries? I mean, ships. Yeah, about 40 million an hour. See, your average massacre mission's gonna tell you to kill about 70 to 90 enemies. Considering that you kill about 40 in an hour, at least that's what I managed to do, 2-hour session is pretty much guaranteed. And all that is gonna net you another 40 million per mission. So it doesn't take a genius to calculate that, yeah, that pretty much with the 40 million you're gonna get in those 2 hours by killing ships, nets you 40 an hour, and that's not great. But let's say that you turn the solitary stick waggling into a circle jerk. Well, yes, you can find missions that you can share with your wingmates. And well, sure, you're gonna be killing a lot faster, but the problem is the spawn rates of these enemies. It won't really change. And yes, you're gonna be picking up a few more kills, but even with that, you can at most expect about 60 to maybe 70 million an hour. And that's with the missions. But you know what really gets me? It's that this pretty much is the ceiling of traditional PvE combat, even with friends. Ah, crap, right. So this is an editor's note. After going over my old guides on how to farm things, including the massacre missions for pirate zones, if you had the wing mission but you didn't share it with your friends, all of you would get a kill for every single one of those missions, rather than when you share it, then only one of the missions gets completed. And thus you could stack them, kinda. Go check out that old video, but that's a footnote for a wing play. We're here for the solo today. But technically, if this still works, you could earn up to about 200 million an hour. And so I was saying, I don't care how many peasant babies I have in my cargo bay, as long as I get paid for their corpses in Imperial space, I'll just keep on ramming landing pads to stop anyways. I mean, they didn't tell me they had to be alive when I sell them, right? Trading the yin to combat's yang. It's been the cornerstone of space sim genre, adding the much needed depth of gameplay and reprieve away from combat, allowing the less, acquainted with functional limbs types of players to progress and advance in the universe. So then, can you make good money with trading? And the answer is yes, and pretty good amount too. The age-old natural gameplay of taking stinky, vomit-filled socks from a metal concert economy system and selling the disgusting cargo for the rich uptown snobs in hipster town system for great profits is still alive and well in Elite. But just like in real world, the price to entry is rather steep, but skill to entry, though, on the other hand, is absolutely none. Instead, you subsidize it with some basic knowledge of basically where to find and where to sell. For example, the crusty and cheesy underpants of industrial workforce from Factory 185. Right then, so what will you need for this? Well, obviously, first of all, ship, of course. It really doesn't matter if the damn thing looks like a Doberman got smashed with a cinder block, you'll fly whatever doesn't explode. What it has to have is as much space as humanly possible, and a jump range that doesn't resemble you attempting to jump a puddle, but instead could actually shift its booty. See, with trading, the profits proportionally are increased the bigger size ship you have, which makes it the most mediocre, middle-of-the-road gameplay. And that is not a bad thing. Still, you came here for the most profit, so there is only one thing that matters, the maximum cargo space. And in Elite there are only two ships that matter, the Cutter and Type 9. And maybe Python if you're going for medium, but nobody does that. For the most part, both of the big ships are basically the same thing. One has more cargo space, other one has more jump range. Both have pros and cons, of course. But even if you're using any other ship for trading, the basic build is very simple. Take a ship, violate it, strip it completely, then fill its cargo bay with nothing but cargo racks and maximize its jump range, like an explorer. And that's it. Now, I'd love to say that that's all you basically need, but Elite Dangerous once more is showcasing its bad habits. Jacked up on caffeine and sleeping pills, the game basically offers you information about commodities and where to buy them and what to sell them, or all that good stuff, but fuck you if you actually want to use these tools to properly trade. That is to say, the in-game tools for trading are incredibly hard to use and provide basically very little information. See, there are over thousands of systems and starports, but will the game tell you which one sells the, let's say, spare kidneys for cheap? Nope, of course, why wouldn't it, right? Will it tell you which starport buys the used tampons for the most price? Nope. Thankfully, Elite's community did what developers failed to do for ages. Actually create tools that present this information in an easy to understand and readable table. How innovative, right? Now, I personally used to use Elite database for this, but Inara is also pretty nice for it. See, the great developers of these sites offer not only the prices of commodities as to where they are sold, for how much, and so on and so forth, but also dedicated A to B to A tool that lists the most profitable routes already calculated for you. It's fucking brilliant. So mad props to the community developers for all these. But as for how to execute these farms, well, they're rather simple. I personally highly recommend checking up the A to B and back to A routes. So let's take Inara for example. You see the commodity that is being sold, you go to the system, pick it up, then bring it to the other system, other starport, sell it off, and pick up the new commodity and bring it back. That's as simple as it could get. This probably is the most basic and intuitive gameplay in the whole game, so what the hell am I yammering about? Just go do it! Oh, and let's be frank here, space trucking is all about the profits, so running a shieldless, slow-ass dump truck for max profits only invites gankers of fate in open. But hey, if it's your king to smash your nuts with a meat cleaver, be my guest! Now, by all means, trading is very cathartic. I really enjoy it myself, as a matter of fact, even though my personal favorite is combat. Still, no one really does it for fun. So it's all about the profits, and I alluded to this before. The simple A to B to A trading is the most mediocre thing ever. And while sure, there might be some special events like community goals or whatever else, expect on an average day to earn about 70 to 80 million an hour. Yep, another moneymaker that beats the ever-loving shit out of combat. Still, trading is the wonderful casual gameplay where you risk very little in fact, well, that is if you play in solo, and acquire a rather decent starting capital that you can easily double within the first hour or so, and can use to fund the rest of your fleet of misbegotten wayward ships, or whatever the hell space truckers do. Oh right, the mountains of porn.
Yeah, but what if I'm too lazy to do my own research and can't even for the life of me calculate numbers and spell words?
Well, then I guess you'd fit right in the modern Hollywood. But no worries, missions are surprisingly not a bad alternative. Sourcing missions, cargo deliveries, both of these types pay rather decent sums. Well, that is as long as you're ready to open a calculator for a second.
Ah, but Mom, do I have to?
Shut up, and yes. So then, the ship build is literally the same as normal trading. The only difference is that, well, you need a reputation build, so prepare for more grind. But once you got the reputation done, well, the decent missions should start coming in, but even so, the pay. Yeah, well, that one's worse than normal trading. See, while the freeform trading will give you about 25,000 credits per ton, on the low side, on a bad day, that's pretty much also the high end of the missions with maximum reputation, so yeah, you see the problem. Oh, and you might be wondering about wing missions, where you take on 3 more gimps to help you. Yeah, it can actually be a pretty fun time where you boost a new player where everyone contributes. However, remember that wing missions are designed to always account for having 4 members in a team, no matter how many there actually are, and thus, rewards are also given expecting 4 players. So no, there is no big pot that 2 or 3 people can split even ways. If you're missing a player or 2, that money that those players would be getting are not given to the rest of the players, even if you complete the same amount. Yeah, and I can't tell you how much it pisses me off. Bottom line is, the trade wing missions are really not that good if you don't have a 4-man team. And even if you have, rewards aren't really that much better than the solo missions. Yep. Hey you, are you tired of living in a burning station and the constant Thargoid probing causing you permanent prolapse? Well then, come out to Sotis where dreams of looking at a planet no one cares about is real. Oh, you looked at it? Good! Now let's get back home so you can cough up those space credits. Ah yes, Sotis and Seos, or Robigo passenger missions, the tried and true, only stackable passenger missions left in the game. Good thing that, cause it's a solid moneymaker that is both fast and profitable, so much so that it could fund your rest of the gameplay needs. In fact, that's how I got my first billion and proceeded to get an anaconda and travel to the center of the galaxy right after. Price-wise though, it does require some setup and initial investment, as well as reputation build-up with the mission providers to truly become viable. Skill-wise though, well, it's very simple. The only thing that you need to do is pay attention and jump really fast. So let's get into it. Like with any missions, the more dicks you suck, the better payout you get. So when starting out, just like all the other mission-based money makers, first you'll need to court the system factions like a horny teenager, before things get really good. So then, both systems, Ceos, that offers large ship landing pads but lower pay, or Robigo Mines, that only has medium landing pads, offer simple passenger missions to Sirius Atmospheric's tourist beacon in Sotis. And this is basically all you need to know. Now as for the ship you'll need, for Robigo Mines the biggest capacity of course is the mighty Python of the medium ships, while for Ceos, well, one of the big three will be your choice, Anaconda, Corvette or Cutter. Surprisingly though, Corvette actually has the most passenger space. That's certainly a sentence I didn't expect to make. Well, either which one you choose, stuff your chosen ship as full with business passenger seating as possible, and whatever's left with economy seating. Now, of course, you can add a few first-class seats too, but first, you won't see that many missions requiring it, and second, when you see them, well, the pay ain't gonna be that much better either way, so it's kinda pointless. Oh, and if you choose to go with Robigo, which actually does pay a little bit better, Python-wise, you're gonna have to engineer its jump range to do the Sotis run in 2 jumps. And that means a bit more grind is required. But that's about it. You're ready to rock out with your cock out. Let's go! Alright then, you got your ship, you got it set it up, and you painstakingly have hauled the miscarriage to the desolate and distant Robigo or Ceos. So now what? Well, like a hooker with neurotic pimp, it's time to suck cocks till you become the town bicycle. Start picking serious atmospheric passenger missions, and once returning, instead of taking credit reward, choose reputation instead to speed up the reputation increase, and thus the better missions will start spawning. The whole trek to Robigo from Sotis is approximately 10 minutes if you're super quick, or about 11 to 15 minutes normally playing. The nearby Ceos trip though usually takes about 8 minutes if you're on point. But the main keyword for this moneymaker is time. Due to the short trips, every minute matters, so paying attention and not dilly-dallying is the key. But yeah, basically, pick the best paying missions, undock, jump to Sotis, scan the beacon, jump back, cash in, repeat. There really isn't much more to say, so what are the results? So how much can you actually expect for this? Well, over the years, Sotis has changed a little bit, but generally speaking, it's surprisingly stayed the same best consistent money maker around. And so, thus, I have tested it over and over again, time and time again, and the result, so oddly, hasn't really much changed. 60 to 120 million an hour. And yes, the range is rather large, let's be frank here. See, this is thanks to the short trip and heavy dependence on the good graces of the fucking RNGesus, even with max reputation. Still, if you don't fuck around and pay attention, Robigo can be actually a good mainstay for really anything that you need. And yes, I said Robigo rather than Ceos. See, ever since developers added multiple starports to Ceos as well as factions, though it is a shorter trip, it also pays less and oddly is not as profitable. Oh, and Ceos has a Federation faction, while Robigo has Imperial, so if you need that faction navy grind, well, here you go.
War! Come on now!
Yes, you can make a pretty penny and some materials while doing nothing but, circle jerk with friends. Quite literally. Now, on the screen, basically, you can see what happens when you don't know how to balance your game. I present you Heelys for Feelies, or How to Abuse Elite Dangerous, for easy credits. Even though these days it's kinda horribly outclassed and frankly resembling AFK Farming, it's still pretty funny and more to the point, displays more than anything the ineptitude of Frontier developers' ability to balance the fucking game. So as you can probably tell, price-wise, it's sky high to enter and even be viable. While skill-wise, well, you can be a comatose paraplegic and make it still rain. So, here we go! So when there are warring factions within the system, you'll start seeing combat zones appearing. For this, you can filter the galaxy map for regular or civil wars. The moneymaker itself pretty much relies on the missions to bring in the big bucks, since combat bonds and the clearing bonus really are distant supplements instead. Also, unlike most other moneymakers, this one requires at least one other person in the wing. Now, of course, roping in 3 more healing gimps is a challenge for middle-aged players of this game. Sure, but trust me, make some fucking friends. It's a good thing. As for the ships though, well, the bigger the better, and of course the ultimate best ships are any of the big 3, and maybe the Type 10, but well, its power distributor won't handle it, so leave the spoiler cow at home. Well, as for the ship build itself, well, the long-range pulse or burst lasers need to be engineered, and then set them to fire at will. And of course for PvE farm, how could we forget a shield? Pretty much any shield. Of course, the bigger the better, but ultimately any shield will do. And lastly, of course, how could we forget the pulsating hemorrhoid, the notorious Heelys, as in regeneration sequence beam lasers, any size. Even the smallest beam laser is enough to out-heal any kind of a damage that gets directed your way. And if that single fact does not make you question Elite Dangerous's engineering balance, well then, how about this demonstration? 1 healing beam out-heals 6 unengineered beam lasers. How fucked is that? Anyways, let's forget about that. Once everyone in your party has set up the ships like this, all that's left is to get a wing mission telling you to go and kill those faction enemies' ships for the war effort, and then just head to the nearby conflict zone and start killing. Since we're relying on the mission being the money maker, you might think that the quantity of the ships are more important to complete the mission faster, but bond rewards shouldn't be ignored completely. So I always prefer the high conflict zones anyways. So how does this moneymaker actually work? Well, first things first, of course you pick up the mission, share it with your friends, then head to the conflict zone, plop your asses around the center point in a decent distance, and start just blasting. You don't need to move, you don't need to do anything, literally sit there and let the turrets do the work. That's kinda the funny part of it. And that's it, literally. You can of course equip a little bit of collector limpets here and there and collect the stray materials, but most enemies will have point defenses, so it's kinda waste of time, really. But what's the pay? How much can you expect by literally doing nothing and sitting there like retarded chimps flogging shit at each other? Well, funnily enough, as the reputation increases, per kill amount also rises, up to a certain point. With a full wing and engineered ships, you'll manage about 90 kills an hour, but that's the best case scenario. RNGs of course can fuck up the instance and break it, or it may simply stop spawning. Either which way, eventually it'll stop anyways and you'll have to restart the instance. And when it comes to the mission rewards themselves, well, you're gonna be making about 500,000 per kill, which leads to, well, approximately 40 to 50, maybe 60 million an hour. And that's kinda the thing, it's about the same as bounty hunting. However, bounty hunting you can do alone, and the instance doesn't stop spawning criminals. Overall, it's a toss-up, but the real reason I chose to present it today is simply the sheer stupidity of the whole farm. So, grab a friend, unzip your pants, load up on lube and healing beams, and get the good old lemon party going. It's Frontier-approved gameplay! You want to grind something, but want to grind something that won't resist, but you're too chicken shit to use horse tranquilizers? Well, how about a rock? This rock! Well then, laser mining is just for you. Mine, mine, mine all day, mine your brain away. Merly, 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 life is thrown away. And so, this is the subtype of trading with actual gameplay. Space rock grinding. No, not that kind of a thing. It's more interesting though. Yes, that kind, the 1700s British children coal miner kind. Once a lifetime ago, this was the most profitable moneymaker on the planet, or in the universe rather. Now though, it's a rather disappointing, but still respectable grind. Well, all you'll basically need is your trading ship with a few mining tools tossed in, and you're set for the most tedious and annoying moneymaker, according to some. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've pile-driven way too many impact drills with my butt cheeks that I've caused irreparable button brain damage. But I kinda like the cathartic and methodical gameplay of mining. But anyways, the price to entry for mining is a bit higher than trading, and it also benefits from a bit more engineering. However, where it differs from trading a lot is in the skill. Though you might say that, well, navigating through asteroids field is just a child's play. And in that case, well, yeah, sure. Tell that child not to explode. Basically, you'll need to pay a lot more attention and press a lot more buttons. While profits, we'll get to that later. But first, what do you need? Now, technically, you can start mining in any asteroid ring or even asteroid belt with the cheapest ship. But, well, let's be frank here, that's not what we're here for. So, first things first, the ship. Like with trading, the biggest cargo space is the best, so Type 9, Python or Cutter will be the obvious choices. Then you'll need the best over-engineered power distributor you can get your hands on. And even with that, after strapping a few mining lasers and using them all at once will milk it dry in seconds, like a thirsty cougar in a frat party. I recommend just strapping as many mining lasers onto your ship and then disabling them as you go, until you get a relatively semi-consistent beam. After that, you have your standard mining base build. The highest possible refinery in the appropriate slot, a few collector limpets, one prospector limpet, and of course a probulator. No shields, no weapons, not even a pulse wave scanner, you don't need those. And everything else just goes for cargo space. And also, a good jump range never hurts, so go for that too. And that's the ship, basically. You can apply the same principles for any ship out there. But as for those aforementioned rocks, where to find them, and hell, what to even mine? Well, that's a good question and simple to answer too. On the screen you can see a list of laser mined rocks and what types of rings they're into. For example, low-temp diamonds in icy rings and painite or platinum in the metallic ones. So you'll be sniffing a lot of rocks, but the highest yields in the good sniff can be found in the pristine rings. And though there are a couple of third-party tools that help you find the best places to mine, my personal favorite is ED Tools. So once more, big thanks to all the creators of these tools. Alright then, so we got the ship and we got the tools, but then how do we get started? Well, first off, do not forget the limpets! Always check the limpets! Hold on, not in this menu, not in that, in this fucking menu. Like, how did you... Why? You had a chance to fix this shit. Oh, no! It makes too much sense. Remember, you'll look incredibly stupid, like me, sometimes when I arrive at the ring, ready to rock and cock, but forget the cock. Alright, so basically the way you start doing the mining thing is simply, first check the markets, see what is trending, as in what is being paid for the most, in the sense of what commodity that you can mine is the most profitable right now, and that the demand is appropriate. For example, in Naro, you can find the prices and also starports and where to find them, of course. What are purchasing all this good stuff? Slow-temp diamonds, painite, price is crap, low-temp diamonds. Yeah, looks like low-temp diamonds might be the thing. Oh, okay, so you got the selling point. So the next thing is you need to go mining. But you see, what I like to do is often go to the closest hotspot of this precious rock that is being purchased right now, so that I have to travel less once my cargo is full. And for that, ED tools come into play quite a bit. Let's go. Right, there we go. Light seconds, okay, yeah, this is doable. Let's see, hotspots. Alright, so once you've found both a location for mining and selling, all that's left for you is to actually do the work. So head to the appointed ring, lube up the rim job with a probulator, find the hotspot, smash your face into it, and here comes the most important part about mining. Oh goddammit, there are ships. Okay, fine. Just gonna go straight forward and no other ships should be spawning at that point. See, in Elite, when you jump into a ring, in about a 40-click radius, the game will start spawning all manner of ships, both miners and pirates. Now, the pirates will start attacking you once they spot something in your cargo they want. But, you see, there is a simple trick to avoid it, and reason why we don't need weapons at all. You just go in a direction. After those 40 kilometers, the game pretty much stops spawning anything, and you can mine in peace. After that, it's just a standard mining. Shoot a probe, sniff the rock, draw a penis on the rock, and spam collectors and yell at them.
Don't you dare suicide on that rock, I'll kill your whole family!
And once the cargo is full of that rock that you wanted, and you start considering committing Sudoku, head to the selling point and get that dopamine rush. And so, at the cost of your own sanity, what rewards can you reap? So here's basically the way markets work. See, my first go was with a low-temp diamonds in an icy ring in a hotspot. That netted a miserable 15 million an hour. While the next go, with platinum in a metallic ring, netted a very nice 50 million an hour. Even so, it's not great. The standard trading is better, which makes it even more depressing when you realize that you're doing more for basically less. All the effort, all the knowledge nets shit all. But it works, and it could work more, which is where the market fluctuations come in. Now, of course, mining in a group will net you more just from the selling alone. But if you're completely insane, yes, these rings are procedurally generated, and yes, they are persistent, and yes, there are some psychopaths who have mapped these rings, finding a few routes that pay a lot more. But to go these lengths to memorize fucking rocks, I honestly much rather would commit Sudoku. Oh, but speaking of memorizing rocks... Well, say what you will about the mind-numbing brain drain that is mining. Still, these explosions and exemplary sound design does not stop being great in Elite Dangerous. But is it profitable? Well, it used to, certainly, but today, well, not as much, as you could tell already from laser mining. The price to entry is about the same as laser mining, which is a step above trading. Same goes with knowledge and skill, it's really about the same thing anyways. And yet, unlike laser mining itself, you'll pretty much get pissed off trying to find a single explodable rock. This, frankly, is one of the gameplays that makes me want to turn on hacks, just so I can see the explodable rocks in the first place. Hello, baby, we have Fisher. Okay, found it. First one. Neat. It took me...
Complete.
Jesus. Near 20 minutes. Alright, well, here we go, baby. Let's start with a ship first. For the min-maxed cargo space, of course, the Type 9 or Cutter will do the trick. Though I do prefer Cutter instead of Type 9 due to its more maneuverable nature. Still, be warned that some of the explodable rock materials can be only sold in medium landing pad stations. So for that case, Python might be a better choice. After that, it's just a standard mining base build. A refinery, probulator, prospector, a few collectors, and everything else into cargo racks. Though for deep core mining, the difference comes in the fact that you don't need a powerful power distributor. And for weapons, all you need is one abrasion blaster, and the rest of the hardpoints go into the detonators. Oh, and of course, everything else is optional for you, but you're gonna be sacrificing something for them, so yeah, definitely there's no need for shields. Also, this is where Pulse Wave Analyzer makes an appearance. Though yes, technically you could do this without it. Though memorizing rock shapes or blindly spamming prospectors like you are finishing No Nut November challenge is not exactly recommended. Once the ship is in order, you'll basically use the same mining tools and market information as laser mining. So head to Inara to check what's basically being sold for most, and then use ED tools to check for the best mining locations nearby. At that point, you're ready to explode some rocks. And also don't believe the people who say that, oh, well, night vision improves the visibility and makes it, you know, those explodable rocks stand out more. It's bullshit. They're lying to you.
Programming input drone.
song and dance applies to deep core mining. Pick a commodity, say void opals, alexandrite, musgravite, the Thargoid poop, whatever. Insert it into the Inaris market. Check what is being sold for the most and where, and also make sure that it's not a fucking fleet carrier. Then insert the selling point into ED tools and find the closest mining hotspot. Once near the planet, do the rim job and slam your face into the hotspot chosen. Now comes the really shitty part. Learning the rock shapes. Oh god, I already want to commit hate crime against myself for this. But here goes. And this looks like a deep core rock. Okay, kinda? The answer is yes. Okay. Huzzah! You found one. Right, so what do you do? Well, we'll place charges, obviously, and make it scream kablooey. Okay, here we go. After that, using Abrasion Blaster, lob off the stuck cum nuggets and proceed to find the next rock. Funnily enough, the smaller the ship, the more nimbler it is. Maybe some useless garbage that you'd never really use could be actually quite nice for this. Say something that no one ever uses or thinks of. Like, for example, the Clipper. Yeah, as it happens, there is still one gameplay that ship is good for. Oh my. Oh god! No, I shouldn't have done this. Either which case, you can expect about 15 chunks per rock on average. So every 2 chunks makes 1 commodity, and thus you can pretty much calculate the approximate value. Though the big thing is, of course, finding the rocks in the first place. So, what about the actual real-world scenario? How much can you expect from that? Well, if each rock produces about 7 to 8 commodities, and these days most of these expensive commodities get sold for about 400 to maybe 600,000 credits, for each rock you explode, you're gonna earn about 4 to 6 million. So the real question comes in. On average, how many explodable rocks can you find? This is where a huge human factor comes into play. But in my testing, it was pretty bad. I managed about 30 million an hour. Hell, even if you consider that Yamiks has never went to kindergarten and shapes and forms are, Chinese to this Latvian, even if you double the exploded rock frequency, it's still a pretty sad state. Now granted, deep core mining is supposed to be more random and rare, unlike laser mining, which is the most consistent mining type, but even so, the deep core kinda simply feels underpaid, even at that. And that's kinda been the case for years, which just makes me sad. See, exploding rocks is really cool, unlike laser mining, but if you want consistency and profit, sadly, this kinda is no longer the best choice. Still decent, but that's about all you can expect. And now for something funny. Alien genociding! And no, I'm not talking about whatever the fuck is happening in Middle East or Africa. Thargoids are a very cool addition to the game, offering very difficult boss-like battles, and these days credits you're rewarded for their annihilation ain't too bad either. Now right off the bat, obviously you're putting a lot of effort and skill, not to mention risking your ass just to kill one. However, there is a funnier way to go about this whole business. So how about we drop any skill and risk required, harder than Frontier dropped Odyssey, and stick to only needing a few cheap parts and a ship. How about we yeetus, fetus, deletus, the Thargoids? And he's dead, baby! That is right, it is possible to instantly murderize the big bad space flowers, and there is a place that spawns them constantly and without fail. Ah, I see I piqued your interest. Well then grab a coat hanger and a lube. We're aborting the space insects. So then, the setup. Well, generally speaking, you'll need a ship with 6 or more medium or large hardpoints, which leaves us with Anaconda, Corvette or Cutter, and a fucking spoiler cow type 10. and maybe Python, and the first Federal Piggy, the dropship. But those are missing one of the hard points, so take it at your own risk. Whichever ship you choose, the build of the ship solely relies on 3 modules. The experimental waste of space that allows more experimental weapon usage, the Guardian space shotguns, the shard ones, be the normal kind or the engineered super versions. Well, either which case, prepare for some quality personal narrative, aka the tech broker grinding to unlock either one. Now, if you're taking the normal space shotguns, you'll also need the materials for premium ammo synthesis, so be warned. Additionally, it is useful to have shields so that you don't get damaged as much, maybe thrusters and of course jump range as usual, but that's about it. But as for our space abortion clinic's location, well, now my personal favorite gander is at HIP 1185, the distress signal sources. Technically you can find any of them, but that's my personal haunt. Now just for fun and testing, I took my Jumpaconda, just a pure exploration anaconda, with non-engineered shotguns, with basic shields and power distributor. It really won't matter too much as you won't probably get damaged. Just a few stray shots and that's it. And it worked! Right, then once the ship is ready and delivered, it's time to speedrun the Thargoid's life cycle. Straight from womb to tomb. Now for this you can use pretty much any distress signal in Thargoid space. The important aspect is that they spawn any and every type of murder flower. All it takes is, well, quality, elite dangerous, patented gameplay, the menu hopping. So, log in and out faster than a child looking at porn on family's computer, until you find the Cyclops. Now warning, these sites might look dead after the first couple of logins, they might not spawn any Thargoids, but they do. Weirdly, it takes up a few relogs, but they do actually work. And eventually Thargoids will start spawning. Sometimes even multiple ones. Now, the important thing is, you need Cyclops and no other one. Once you got it, let it come closer. What is that? Looks like Cyclops, probably. Fuck.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bah! Bah!
And he's dead, baby!
Heat sink deployed. Heat sink.
Kablooey!
Target destroyed.
Okay, yeah, this is pretty funny. Now, engineered Guardian shards can take out the Cyclops no problem, but the normal ones require the premium ammo synthesis, sadly with even 6 of them. But once you do it, that's about it, you just can insta-gib a Cyclops. Well, kinda insta-gib. Point is, you don't need to fight the fucker and you get 6.5 million a pop. And since these Thargoids always spawn from the exact same location, you don't even need to move, making this an extremely easy farm. Which conveniently leads us to the cost of these turbo abortions. Due to the nature of RNGs, you can get Cyclops after Cyclops every time you relog, or get absolutely nothing. Which sadly forces us to basically calculate the theoretical maximum, rather than realistically testing it. Right, so it basically takes about 30 seconds for the Thargoid to explode, and funnily enough, depending on your internet connection and SSD loading times and blah 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 blah, about 30 to 60 seconds to relog. Which, let's be generous and say that it is 2 minutes per Thargoid kill, which, in a absolute best case scenario, nets us almost 200 million credits an hour. That actually kinda sounds incredible. Plus, you get combat elite rank fast too. Now, but okay, let's say we average out an account for RNGs as being a dick, right? Let's say it's 100 million an hour, you know, half the maximum. For doing nothing but menu skipping, honestly speaking, this is still pretty good. It is silly, it is stupid, and it is retarded. But who cares if you just want to destroy Thargoid pussy and get paid, right? Very dangerous balancing, ladies and gentlemen. Frontier approved gameplay. Woo! Why is my brain bleeding? Yep, that's right. The non-gameplay of sniffing plants, or exobiology, is actually a notable moneymaker. Oh, gods help us. Oh, right. Anyways, so the price to entry for this is obviously super low. There is no skill requirement because they took the only skillful gameplay out of it already. Yep, this is what the Odyssey developers thought was a good idea. To put in a reaction-based gameplay for people who go out of their way to not do any skill-based gameplay. Genius! Jesus Christ, what were they thinking? Anyways, moving on. But anyways, of course, this is an Odyssey-only gameplay, so welcome to Pay to Win! Woo! But seriously, do not buy Odyssey just to make credits this way. Oh, just please don't. Try my Patreon, for example. Alright then, so this malformed and artificially propped up farm, like a corpse with a stick up its ass being used for puppet shows, doesn't require much to get going. Now, unlike any other moneymaker out there, really you don't need a ship, or at least it's a very secondary thing. While of course you can use any ship for this, I still recommend a faster, smaller one. Case in point, the best case scenario is Hauler. It's the cheapest and it does everything fine, plus it has decent jump range for road to riches as usual. Though there is one thing that is kinda crucial to pick up, and that is the Probulator, just so you can scan the planet and see where the fuck to go. As for the most crucial thing, the Artemis Exploration spacesuit, well, that one you can pick up pretty much everywhere.
Wait, hold on. This suit costs like $3? The fuck?
Anyways, like a typical road to riches or pretty much anything in Elite Dangerous, sadly, you'll need a third-party tool to provide a list of profitable plants to scan and locations they're found in. Luckily, there are a few floating around, and take your pick which one you like. So, like a normal road to riches, the same rules apply. Open up the third-party tool, plop your location, and get the system name, and practice proctology. Now, when it comes to exobiology, combining things and making efficient runs is, of course, a good idea. So, going after the rarest ones first is probably a better idea, because you never know, you might find the next thing that you need on the list right next to it. Proceed to land in an approximate area, do the Armstrong moment, and proceed to touch some grass. Yep, welcome to Elite Dangerous. Anyone unfamiliar with exobiology, you need 3 scans of the same plant and you can't do multiples at the same time. Yay, artificial limitations! Such quality game design. Anyways, you can scan the same plant again after about 500 meters, so get back into the ship, land a few meters away, and scan again. And hopefully not stuck your dick in the grass, return to the TheYamiks and cash out. Simple as that. So then, the big question is, how much can you make by simply touching grass? Literally. Yeah, okay, within an hour, 80 million. Alright, that's more than 60. And I fucked up a couple of times, so...
Is that everything?
Alright.
Thank you.
Honestly, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but 100 million an hour. Yep, the literal plant sniffing and Armstrong moment teleportation nets you 5 times more than the ship-based exploration. Or most other money makers in traditional grinds. Just why? Why? Now, if you have the attitude of,
fuck you got mine. The farm is great. Don't you dare take away my pearls. Oh, my pearls.
then I guess we got nothing in common. But for the rest of us, why the fuck is this so lucrative? Are developers artificially inflating it just so people go out and buy Odyssey or something? Well, anyways, it's extremely lucrative and trivially easy to perform, so go nuts. I'll just go and yell at the brick wall, I guess. And speaking of retardation, Odyssey! Oh, and also Odyssey FPS combat. You know, this. Yeah, that miserable pile of sodomized potential like it's an altar boy in Vatican. How much money do you think you can make through feet combat? Is it even worth doing? Well, considering that the price to entry is rather low, especially compared to ship-based combat, you still do need some guns and some suits, maybe with engineering. While it's not necessary, it's still good to have. However, remember that it took me 27 fucking hours to engineer one spacesuit to maximum. So, yeah, I would definitely skip that. Besides, you don't really need it. What about the skill requirement for this? Well, obviously, compared to touching grass, it's definitely infinitely more difficult. However, see, Elite Dangerous's AI behavior, and its capability in FPS combat is akin to lobotomized game developer who made this gameplay. I wonder why the phrase baby's first Halo comes to mind when I think about this. But of course, let not my deranged ramblings and overcritical standards stop you. is it actually good? Of course, pay-wise, not the gameplay quality. Jesus Christ, not that. Alright, so then first up, let's gear up. Or rather, what can you do without? See, this is the only gameplay in this whole big guide that you don't actually need a ship. You can sign up with a Frontier Solutions thingamajig and just get teleported to the area of combat. So then, the spacesuit. Well, technically, you can go with a flight suit. Obviously, Dominator is a bit better. The big boy brick shithouse does offer a little bit more protection, and it's really not that more expensive anyways. But a lot more crucial choice you have to make is about picking the right weapon. Now, I could go into a massive rant on how fucked Odyssey FPS combat design is, and how idiotic everything is, and shields, and blah 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 blah. But take my word for this, if you want to know more, there's a video about it. Pick the plasma shotgun if you want to almost be correct. Or if you are big brain like Yamiks, then always pick the plasma pistol. It's honestly fascinating how many people get this one wrong. It's laughable. The plasma pistol is the best weapon in the game. It's just end of discussion. Now as for engineering for both suit and the weapons, I would highly recommend of skipping it. It's not worth spending 20 plus hours just grinding garbage for garbage. So please save your time, don't do it. Nothing in Odyssey is really worth your time, but that's beside the point. But now, where to find these conflict zones in the first place? Where do I fight? Well, just like with the spaceship conflict zones, head to any civil war or war systems. There you will need to take a look at what outpost threat levels there are. You are looking for threat 3 outposts. Essentially, the point is that you need to find a conflict zone that spawns elite soldiers. Basically, they have a lot more health and simply pay out 35 to 85,000 a pop. And that's about it. Right then, since FPS gameplay doesn't really have supplementary missions like the ship gameplay does, these conflict zones is all that you need. It's dependent on how many assholes you kill, and kill fast. Remember that you do need these high conflict zones with those elite enemies, otherwise the pay is really poor. So threat 3 outpost is a must. As for resetting the instance, all it takes is just simple relogging and it works just fine. So all that's left is for you to go and blast and pew pew and oh, the FPS combat, so cool, if only, yeah, I just can't make this look interesting. It's the lamest FPS ever. Alright, so it doesn't really matter whether or not it is the most boring or annoying gameplay out there. It matters how much it pays for today's escapades, right? And the answer to that is 40 million an hour, give or take. I honestly cannot believe that actual bounty hunting with ships and the missions actually is about the same. Who balanced this game? Well, anyways, it is actually a decent farm, which makes it a pretty good jump off point when you just start out. I mean, okay, fine, it's not as bullshit as the goddamn Exobiology, but still. So, the fuck do I know of balancing, I guess? Moving on.
You've probably heard about, or might have even experienced firsthand, Thargoid spire sites. These are surface locations which spawn a variety of Thargoids, the most relevant of which are Orthros interceptors. Once cleared of the 8 banshees that reside there, Thargoid spires become an Oreo shooting gallery. That's what we lovingly call the Orthros Thargoids. Now the thing about spires, they are inherently a group activity. While you can certainly visit a spire site solo, there isn't much money to be made there on your own. If you want to make money while contributing to the war effort, there's 2 ways to go about it. The first one is the pick-me-up soccer version, which doesn't strictly require being in a voice channel and can be done with a simple human weapons only build. The other version, the we mean business version, does require coordinating in a voice channel and makes use of the much more powerful but also vulnerable to the anti-guardian field of Orthros' guardian weapons. Depending on which one you choose, here's what you'll need. First of all, you'll want to identify a target location. The Anti-Xeno Initiative Discord maintains a list of priority targets that generally see non-stop action. So hit up the Discord and identify a place to head to. Then you'll need to decide what game mode you wish to play in. You can play in Open, which will often have commanders present and comes with its own game rules, as in you may have to defend yourself from hostile commanders in that game mode. Alternatively, you can play in the Anti-Xeno Initiative private group, which is also popular and comes with no ganking rules. Or of course you can play in your own private group with your own group of friends. If you are a beginner at this activity, we highly recommend the Pick Me Up Soccer version. A good Pick Me Up build is a slightly modified version of a Titan Killer version 2.0b, which many players already have for use against the Titans, which makes a few changes specifically suited to work at Thargoid spire sites. We've now labeled this variant the Titan Killer version 2.0s for spires. A great bonus of this build is that it doubles as possibly the best Banshee killer. With this ship you will clear the Banshees in no time. Our low investment unengineered version, the version 2.0SU, is also linked here. Possibly the best we mean business build is a so-called Cytoplasma Conda, also linked in the video description below. Know that this one cannot handle Banshees from the sky. You'll need a Banshee killing partnership or go on foot to handle Banshees initialies if you're using this build. Finally, you should decide if you want to join a voice channel of a group fighting at spires. We would highly recommend it. The Anti-Xeno Initiative Discord often has one or more group going on at any point in time. While it's not required for Pick Me Up spires, it really helps. So please do consider it. Once you know your target planet, you've decided on your game mode, you have an idea of the approach you want to take, have a build ready, and ideally you are in a voice channel, then you're ready to set out. If you're in voice with a group, speaking in the third person, ask for an anchor. For example, I would say, Commander Mechan inbound, requesting an anchor. An anchor is a wing invite that will allow you to drop into the same instance as the voice group you're speaking with. Without an anchor, the game may choose to place you in some random other instance instead. If you drop among the very first few players, chances are you'll need to clear the 8 Banshees up front. To do that, fire anti-Xeno missiles at the ground just beneath them. You want to hit them with a splash damage, not with a direct damage of the missiles. Once Banshees are gone, you're clear to start farming Orthros. This softcore version of Orthros hunting relies on ignoring so-called outbound ones, that is, the ones that spawn from the spire portals, and rather focusing on the so-called inbound ones, that is, the ones that spawn from black clouds. Furthermore, the operating procedure for softcore Oreo hunting is to wait until the Orthros shields naturally decay to 0, and then typically a good 5 additional seconds to allow for desyncs, before engaging them. Oreos that have shields naturally decay will not fire their shutdown fields, reshield, summon scout Cyclops reinforcements, or trigger their anti-guardian field, and thus will essentially be sitting ducks as you blast away with your missiles. Be careful not to get too close to the Orthros and to not hit it while it's still shielded. That will trigger it, making it fire its shutdown field and earn you the ire of your fellows Oreo hunters. The plus of this method is that it is easy, relatively free of danger, and quite accessible. The downside of this method is that you're leaving a lot of credits hour on the table by ignoring outbounds and by waiting for the shields to decay on the inbounds. Once you have a bit of experience, and ideally have identified a group of people you like hunting with, you may want to switch to the we mean business version of Orthros spire hunting. This version uses primarily, but it doesn't have to be exclusively, anacondas armed with 6 modified Guardian plasma cannons, and a lot of AFM use. It relies on voice communication to trigger shutdown field neutralizers in a coordinated fashion, and to maximize firepower and thus minimize the time that Orthros survive. Since 3 anacondas can splash an Orthros in a single well-ranged volley once its shield is down, and don't take too long to drop that shield in the first place, Oreos simply do not survive long enough for their occasional AGFs to do much damage. The free AFMUs these ships sport restores weapons to fighting shape in no time, even for the situations where they do trigger. These instances often rely on a single target caller in voice who will announce targets, call open fire, and announce the shutdown field neutralizer countdown. We further introduced a map of spire sites so that calls can be made to head towards conventional nav points instead of having to call out compass bearings. We found this very useful and hope you will too. Things can go incredibly well or terribly wrong in an instance fighting this way. If you get your group to operate at peak efficiency, however, it will give you access to the highest paying activity in the game. In a pick-me-up soccer instance, you can look at up to 1 billion credits per hour with good spawns and with commanders well behaving. In a we mean business instance, you can push that up to 2 billion credits per hour under ideal conditions. Getting your ship destroyed at any time will not make you lose the bonds. These bonds persist throughout the rebuy process. The values listed are also before the bond doubling bonuses that Power Play level 5 of Arisa Lavini Duval, Zachary Hudson, and Pranavantal grant. So if you farm long enough, the effective values per hour can be close to double using Power Play bonuses. How does earning a carry in an hour and 15 minutes sound? Sounds pretty good to us. Hope it will be for you too.
And most certainly, lastly, the moneymakers, farms, and lack for better word, utter wastes of your time. The few farms that you could do, but you should never, ever do. But anyways, here's how to do them. AFK Farming, the pinnacle of laziness and the failure of game designers. See, Elite Dangerous does have one specific AFK farm that you can perform, but like sticking your dick in a ventilator, you should never do it. Anyways, here's how. First, you need a Type 10 with nothing but long-range turreted lasers. Fastest recharging resistance bi-weave shields, and maybe a fighter, but it's doable without it. A few defense points around the belly of the ship, and few little other things. I'll have a build in the description. Pick up a cargo mission with something profitable inside, like, I don't know, slaves or something. Or just buy something in the commodity market. All this is simply done to make your ugly swamp dump truck looking ass more appealing to pirates. Pick as many pirate massacre missions on top of it, and proceed to smash your face into the high resource extraction site. Then pick a spot, set your turrets to fire at will, squirt out a fighter, and set your ship to rotate slightly for good measure. This AFK farm relies in part on system police, killing the pirates that will be attacking you due to your booty. Of course, don't forget to set your pips to 303, and you're pretty much done. Now, once in a while you might need to check if everything is going alright, since RNG might stop spawning NPCs or something else might happen, but approximately you can earn about 10 million an hour.
Ah, but Yamiks, while I'm sleeping or while I'm at work, I'll earn about 100 to 200 million, and I gotta do nothing. What's wrong with that?
Never do AFK farms. All of the AFK farms are bad, and here's why. Now clearly, you realize that the game is grindy, and no amount of willful ignorance, saying that, oh well, it's a grind if you just make it, right? Or grind is optional, won't change the fact that you clearly admit that the grind is not optional, and more so, that it is a huge problem. So in a retarded loop of stupidity, to idiotically attempt to avoid grinding, you're engaging in a very shitty grind. I mean, so long as you don't see the problem, so long as you choose to close your eyes and sing la la la, I don't hear you, the problem doesn't exist, right? For the most part, that's the result of AFK farming. But no, engaging into them or something probably would make you admit the reality. The game is nothing but grindy, so let's do the worst of them. There is no stupid like this stupid. So, if any of you have come to a point that you ever engage in AFK farming, why the fuck are you even playing the game anymore? Like, seriously, clearly you admit that the game is far too grindy, that even the most efficient farms, gameplay, actual things are too much. But instead of that, you proceed to do the most inefficient grind imaginable. You might as well just watch videos then, like mine, and thank you for watching, of course. But god damn it. Next up, the Booze Cruise. Now, this idiotic farm, you will be doing basically a simple trading. The catch is that you can't do it without a fleet carrier. Yeah, you might see where I'm going with this. But first, how to do it? Well, there is a system called Rackham's P that from time to time goes on a public holiday state that during which time Vine explodes, like this Sidewinder. However, you can't reach this location even with the biggest jump range ship in the game, except for Fleet Carrier with its 500 light year jump range in a single jump. So then, what you do is load up on cheap wine, and when the event takes place, of course, deliver it, and boom, big money for you. So then, what's the problem? Well, like any other moneymaker out there that requires the Fleet Carrier to make it really good, or even viable, the fucking Fleet Carrier is the problem. Alright then, so remind me, how much did the carrier cost?
Yeah, but
I said how much?
5 billion.
5 billion credits, that's right. And now remind me, now what can you do with 5 billion credits, Now, time and time again, I've said this. Fleet carriers are almost utterly worthless. Now, I could maybe understand it if it's a big organization really doing some faction-based stuff. But solo, or hell, even a small group, no one needs the fucking wallet parasite. It's a horrible money sink with manipulative mechanics. You don't need it. So, drop the stupid sunk cost excuse making and get rid of it. You got 5 billion credits. Do you know what you can do with all of it? And lastly, we got, an exploit. I kinda guess. Honestly, I'm not sure, really. So, credit transferring using fleet carriers markets. Yep, you heard me right. You can use the fleet carrier to transfer credits between commanders without any loss. Right, and I suppose first, before even whether or not it is a bannable offense, you just simply want to know how to do it. So here it goes. So, first things first, the owner of the fleet carrier can set the prices however they want, and commodities being sold on it and bought are also up to the fleet carrier's owner. So obviously, you can set the prices however you want. For example, you can purchase some sort of commodity for super high prices and then sell them back for very low prices, allowing your friend, for example, purchase these things and then sell it back, thus earning credits from simple sale. And your friend doesn't even need to leave the fleet carrier. How convenient, isn't it? Now then for the warnings, of course. Well, back in the day when carriers were fresh, you could do this exploit. I quickly realized that and in fact made a couple of videos about it. But anyways, today, however, I've heard some claims and murmurings that some people get banned to the Shadow Realm because of apparently this abuse. For those unaware, there are two types of bans within Elite Dangerous. One is a complete account ban, just account out of the window like your baby. And the other one is simply a ban for the open and private groups, so you can only play in a solo group. And this is kind of the thing. I tried investigating whether or not people got banned for this, but the sources are unreliable, and since Frontier themselves have not said anything about this publicly, and especially considering that they don't want to talk with me, I guess that's as much information as I can provide. Just be careful. If you choose to do it, definitely do it at your own risk. However, right, so let's get theoretical here for a second. Technically, you're using in-game functions without any kind of abuse or bugs, or hell, you're not even using menu relogging, which is actually a lot more abusive, I guess. Hell, it's not really that different from, let's say, buying something, then dumping it in real space, letting your friend collect it, and then sell it off, thus transferring credits, right? Or ganking, for example, or griefing. Yes, it's really not much more different than those, and yet all of these are perfectly fine, yet fleet carrier credit transfer would not? I smell bullshit if you're getting banned for this. And you know what always makes me laugh and cry at the same time? Well, the fact is, developers have access to the code and they can make the game however they want and let the players use these tools however they want as well. So when some out-of-touch developer decides to start banning people for simply playing the game with the tools they've provided, now that's when the bullshit bell starts ringing. So down below, let me know if you've been banned for any of this stuff or you can happily do it. Because, yeah, it'd be nice to have some sort of clarification, though it's anecdotal at best. I'll try to put this information in the pinned comment, too. And so, these are the best, mostly solo grinds in Elite Dangerous. This one-stop guide for those who don't want to waste time, so to get sooner that beluga liner and be the 1%ers, here you go. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Just please, promise not to buy a fucking fleet carrier. You really do not need it. So, in the end, I got to say big thanks to McCann for his segment and coming along and giving a go. So give him some love, and of course, for putting together this massive guide and all the other crap, I suppose, go check out the Patreon. It truly helps a lot. So thank you all for whoever is supporting me there. Even $1 a month really matters a lot. So thank you. But that aside, do let me know, did I miss any of the money makers, or the prices are out of date, or hell, did you find a new one? So I'll try to update the pinned comment for all the updates and all that good stuff. For now, that's about all there is. Remember, do not do the AFK farm and do not buy the fucking fleet carrier. They're bad. Okay? Okay.